Hey everybody, and welcome back to Secure by Design, Beyond the Firewall. I'm Ted, and with me, again, after a little bit of an absence, is Ahmed. Welcome back, Ahmed. It's great to see you.
Thank you.
All right. So, last time we had Rob on here, he talked a little bit about the role of MSPs and MDMs and everything. It was a great episode. It was so great to have him on. I know that you had a chance to see it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was great to hear him speak. So, but today we're going to talk about a subject that we kind of have been kicking the can around for a while. It's something we face all the time. It's something that I've been dealing with, you've been dealing with for most of our computer careers, is Mac or PC.
Ooh, yeah, that's a big one. That's been going on for decades.
I mean,
decades.
there was that great commercial series that Apple put together, right? You know, with those actors that I'll never forget. They're great actors. I can't remember their names. And they were such witty commercials and everything, and that was a different era for Apple because it was all about Apple just getting a piece of the market. Back then it was known as 5 down, 95 to go, meaning we have 5% of the market, we still got to get 95% of the market. Obviously, things are drastically different today for them. So I know the landscape has changed a lot for that. Back then, it was always viewed as just for creatives, those kind of people. But here we are, it's 2026. Apple's got a massive array of available products for business, as does all of the Windows suppliers. When you look at how many are there and how flexible that system obviously is. So let's talk about it. Why don't we start with Windows?
Okay.
Because I know you got some chops in that. I have none. I know there's an on button on my computer.
Yeah, like a lot of IT professionals, they started their life working with Windows because that was the majority of what's out there. And then as they see different environments, they get to pick and choose. Some people picked Linux, some people picked Apple, some people stayed within the Windows realm, and they got the Windows servers, and then Windows became the mainstream, and Apple is trying to penetrate that, and was 5% of the market, and now it's growing and growing and growing. Now, for us, for Alary Technologies, I have to say that a disclaimer: we picked Apple. We picked it because we felt that it is an operating system that we like to work with. I personally spent time repairing Windows machines, repairing PCs, and putting in network cards in, and installing Windows from a CD, and then sort of floppies first, and then CDs, and then it just grew. And I picked as my preferred operating system was the Mac, and the reasons were simple to me: is that it is very easy to work with. It is well put together. The software and the hardware is made by the same company, and that same company makes sure that it works, and the computer picks up the driver. Like if I go back 20 years ago, where you have to install a network card, and then when you install the network card, you have to find the driver for that network card, and then you hope that the driver is actually compatible with the operating system that you're using. In the Apple world, that was not a thing. You would install the Apple operating system, and the Apple operating system has the drivers for every hardware component that Apple makes and puts it into their system. So as IT professionals, we didn't have to deal with this. The system does it all. Continued Apple evolution to go into the Unix with the introduction of Mac OS 10 or X. That was a revolution in terms of security and in terms of the multi-user level operating systems, which at the time was really new and Windows didn't have. And when we worked in the graphic design and the education realm, it was very, very useful to have those features built into the system. That's a little bit of a history. Today's world is very different. Today's world, you have people graduating from universities and colleges and even high schools, all very familiar with the Apple platform, and now going into the workplace. And they would probably want to use what they're used to. I'm not saying that they're all going to use Apple, but what we want to do, and this is a new kind of method, or better than method, really a way of thinking that we want to have people to be comfortable in the device that they're using. If they prefer to use Windows, they want to be able to use Windows. If they prefer to be using Apple, they need to be using Apple, because that's where they're most productive, and that's where we want them to be at their best. Apple calls this, we call this employee's choice. When you onboard a new employee, you want to ask them, do you prefer to work on Windows or Mac? And if they say Mac, you need to be able to support that. If they say Windows, you need to be able to support that. And I think that's a great way to start a relationship with your new employee, is have them comfortable. Now, next we can go into the different models and the different new, let's just say, configurations of infrastructure, because now there's a third player. Actually, I say now, maybe 5-10 years ago, the Chromebooks. The Chromebooks entered the field of business. It started in education, now it's in business. I know large companies now adopting the Chromebook, and especially with a lot of services now living on the cloud, you don't really need a very strong, powerful machine. If everybody's doing everything in the browser, why don't they have a Chromebook? Chromebook has an operating system that's made by Google, so now we have a third player. Recently, Apple just entered the game of similar to Chromebook with the MacBook Neo. Lightweight processing, very affordable configuration, and the numbers we're seeing that are coming out of benchmarks for the MacBook Neo are impressive. They are simply competing with the Intels, are competing even with the Apple Silicon M processors, if they're giving into the same configuration. So this is very fresh, just this year, so we'll wait and see. But we think on our own testing with applications, or business applications, specifically Microsoft Office Suite, Teams, the different browsers, Outlook, it seems to be performing very well. So that's is yet to be seen.
All right. Yeah. So I mean, you brought up so much there with that. Let's sort of unpack some of that into smaller bites if we can. So, you know, we've got, I mean, when we even really look at the Windows deployment today, if I'm using these devices, let's just talk performance. And we can include Chromebooks in this as well, because that does, you're right, adds that third layer that's similar to Apple in many ways, but also still its own independent thing, and offers, you know, even features similar to Microsoft. So one thing that a business might be thinking about is overall device performance over time, right? I mean, how many people do we know that have, you know, a Windows machine, or a machine, let's say, that's not built by the software the software and the manufacturer are two different companies. How often do we see them bringing around their power cords? Is there somewhere I can plug in? My battery's not very good. Never see this with Apple users, you know. Let's speak to that relationship between software and hardware, and how it has the ability to tell the hardware to do things that maybe, you know, when I'm company Acme Incorporated and I made this computer and I'm going to have Windows on it, but I don't want to give them all my secrets for longevity on my devices. No, that's my kind of stuff. So let's speak a little bit to that, because that's an inventory management thing from a business perspective and everything.
Well, there's a lot in there as well. So when you talk about the power and the power cord, everybody has their own power cord, of course, and then that brings me to the question of the battery. When you see people go to a coffee shop and you'll see people on Macs don't have a power cord, people on Windows or Windows Intel computers, they have a power cord with them. because the new processor from Apple is very efficient with power, and you have computers. I think every computer that Apple makes now can do in 8 hours straight. Some of them extend to 24 hours, but the minimum, even with the powerful ones, the Mac Pros with the M4 Pros and the M5 Pros, they can do at least 8 hours. So people can spend their day doing that, and that's maybe part of the attraction, especially with the hybrid model now. But back to the hardware and the software being made by the same manufacturer, it makes perfect sense that if Apple wants to introduce, for example, a security feature like a biometric fingerprint, then they can easily write the right software to incorporate the key, and the key and the software are encrypted, so that cannot be stolen. No software, no malware can go in and steal that fingerprint from you. It's just the way it's integrated, it's all built in. As we are an Apple Authorized Repair Center, so we know that when you replace that key, there's a lot that goes into it, because that key is not just an additional USB peripheral that you can just replace and retrain your device to read your finger. It's a totally different thing with
Yeah,
Apple.
it's even the power button too.
It's even the power button, so it's all locked in. So that's one of the ways that Apple has been at the forefront of the technology, where it's able to try things, test things, modify them later. Like if you did something and the software was not as secure as you thought, you just put in a patch with the same hardware. Even the hardware can be upgraded because there's a firmware. They can push the firmware through the software. So the power of having the same company that's writing both is limitless, because that's how they're able to be ahead of the curve when it comes to security and features and camera resolutions and all that, because the system can immediately take advantage of it.
Awesome. So I guess the last thing that we're going to talk about is the adoption. So when we come in, there are sometimes, situations where, say, a Windows user comes into the Mac environment, they go, I'm very uncomfortable with this. We've seen it a gazillion times. I mean, my entire career at Apple was dealing with that in a lot of ways. But the one thing that Apple always talks about is, you already know this, because the majority of those users are coming from iPhone. And now with the new Mac OS 26, also with iOS 26, the integration, it seems that, they're taking this software hardware thing and no longer saying iPhone, iPad, watch, Vision OS, Mac OS, TV OS. It's OS. So those people that are having that trouble when they come in now, they can sort of go, it's like your phone. Okay, well, how do I get it to look like that? And then you can still, it's all the same features, they call it all the same, there's a lot of consistency across it. Whereas if you're using, Android for your phone system, and you're using Windows for your computers, and Chromebooks or iPads for your surveys and your field, you get into this conundrum, even from a management perspective, that I would imagine would be, let's just say, a headache to do.
Yeah. Well, the other advantage is the one ecosystem. The one ecosystem is that when you log in to your computer and you sign into your Apple iCloud, you immediately have access to all the things that are visible to you. And now there's a lot more. A lot of people don't know how much more integration now there is with the iCloud and your machine. The example of the visible to you is like, I log into my computer and now all my contacts are there. That's visible to people. And people love that because they want to be able to find their contacts. In addition to the necessity of that is that if you lose your iPhone, you don't lose your contact. Whether you lose it you left it at a cab, or you dropped it, or it was stolen, doesn't matter. Your data is everywhere. It doesn't matter. The device is not the main thing. But there are lots of underlying things. Like, for example, your passwords. Your passwords are stored on your phone. It used to be called a keychain. Now it's called password. It transfers to your computer if you logged in. Ease of use of that. You're at the new office, or you're at your friend's house, and they give you access to their Wi-Fi. You put in your phone, you pull up your computer, you log in, and you find that, oh, it already knows the password. Yes, it knows the password. You don't have to tell it twice. That fluid transfer. You take a note. You write on your notepad something, you take a note, and then immediately you jump on your computer and you pull your notes, and it's there. And it's taking a second or two. I'm not talking 10 seconds. It's a second or two. And I do it. I write a note here, and I come to my computer, and I pull the note, and I want to be able to take. Now, there's a lot of features with handoff between computer and phone. These are all just added benefit. The common Mac user takes advantage of a lot of it. Like I said, some of them he knows and notices, like, I like this, and some of it they just don't know. It just makes their life easier without them knowing. And there's a lot of hurdles. People who are working on two different systems and multiple systems, they have to jump through. And I have had, like, this is a very strange conversation to have with somebody who's using an Android phone, and they lose their phone and they lose their contacts. And I say, how? Oh, I just got this new phone. I lost my phone. And I was like, this doesn't happen anymore, or it shouldn't happen. Like, you shouldn't lose your phone and then you start to message all your friends, hey, I lost my phone, and I don't...
New phone, who dis?
And I don't know who's this, because you just messaged me. I just received your text, and I don't know who this is.
I don't know who this is, so I'm not going to message you back.
Yeah,
exactly.
So this shouldn't happen in today's age. It should be all fluid. So there's a lot. We can talk about how the ecosystem of the Apple is so integrated into every single hardware. And to your point, when the iPad was introduced, it was a very different operating system than the Mac OS. And then we've seen this over the year every year, with every introduction of the new iOS, later called the iPad OS and the Mac OS, they're getting closer. Every year they're getting closer and closer and closer. They're not the same yet. And I don't think they will ever be the same.
No.
And that's the most important thing, is that every device has its own interface, and that operating system is written for that interface. But what we want to see is, we want to see A, integration, and B, ease of use. And the experience should carry. And if somebody knows how to use an iPad, he should know how to use a Mac, with the difference of having a keyboard, having a mouse, and having windows that open close. Even that, with a new iPad OS, it looks very close.
You can have Stage Manager and have it.
You can use it as very similar to a Mac. Yeah. But we have to remember, you're using your finger to drag and drop things, which is different than a mouse, and that's why every interface is going to be different. And I think that's one of the reasons, I'm speculating here, I think that's one of the reasons why Apple has not introduced a touchscreen Mac, because the interface is different. The iPad is doing that, and an iPad is made for that. The iPad is made for you, so if it's small, mini, it fits in your coat, you take it out and you take notes on it and put it back. Or if you're just chilling on the couch and you want to browse some media or take some notes on something. And the Mac is the work machine, or the course machine, whether you're a student or a professional and you need to produce a lot of media and be able to jump from one app to the other and move things around. And that's why different functions require different hardware.
Well, it's funny you say that, because there's this, Apple does all those little short little mini movie things, and there's one specifically about sharing with your team using certain applications, and one's on an iPad, and then you can see the kids scribbling on it and then going, oh no, delete, undo, but it's all pretty much in real time, as they're doing it. So amazing tools that they've sort of built in that a lot of us take for granted in a lot of ways. We don't consider that, oh yeah, I have Keynote on my phone. Oh, that works with my computer. You mean I can control my presentations from my phone? Most people don't even know stuff like that. Yep. So anyway, this has been great. Yep. Thanks, Ahmed. So there we have it. Mac or PC? Have we convinced you? We're the converted, so we're preaching to the choir over here.
And we're not trying to convince you. We're just telling you what we feel.
Yeah, it's easy. So with that, we're going to sign off for episode, I think this is episode 5 already. Might be episode 4, so I'm going to put both in there just in case I have to edit out, or I'll leave it in. So we're going to say thanks for watching. Thanks, Ahmed, for spending some time, and we're going to see you next time on Secure by Design Beyond the Firewall.